Test, test. All right. Should be working now. How you guys doing? Anybody took any trades at open? That's good, Paul. What's up, Troy? Hey, Joshua. That's great, man. Javier. What's up, James? Latoya, Sin, Tiara. How you doing? Yeah, family's good. Family's good. Yeah, I just got back from the family walk. What's up, Daniel? All right, about to get it started, okay, guys? Things good. What's up, Sam? Everything's good, brother.
Recording in progress.
Yes, let's get excited for this week. Okay, guys. So, for those that don't know, this is just going to be a weekly prep. All right. So, just going over all the important economic data regarding fundamentals, just so you guys could understand what to pay attention to moving forward. Okay. So, perfect example, like understanding what happened last week with the shutdown, what you guys think is going to happen moving forward, right? Because the longer this continues, right, we're eventually going to start seeing an impact in the markets. Okay. So last week we did have the government shutdown, right? That was pretty much continuously dominating the headlines. That was just really the main focus. I understand some of our concerns, right? Because this is not the first time this actually happened. The government shutdown happens a lot, especially for you guys that's in the US. We see it all the time. Why is this one more important? It's definitely because of the timing, right? The timing of why this is actually, when this is happening is going to cause an issue because it's going to impact the feds, right? So this is why here, just to give you guys an example, why the shutdown, what needs to happen next. So the US government is officially shut down because Congress cannot agree on how to fund the new budget before the deadline, right? When funding runs out, mostly federal agencies legally have to stop working. That's what caused a shutdown. It's all political. So why didn't the stock markets react, right? That's one of the top questions, is what happened with the stock market. Because this is more political than anything else, right? Eventually, I would expect this to become market moving. And just like an example, like Friday, we did see a bit of a sell off, right? Just to show you guys the stock market. We did have a bit of a sell off late in the session. I was expecting that to happen on Tuesday or something like that. But, the more that this continues to play out, I expect it to give us a sell off. And I'll explain why afterwards. But why this matters. Because the lawmakers are fighting over how much money is there to spend, right? Likely government programs, healthcare stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But just to give you guys a breakdown, just to understand, right, how does this impact us as traders, right? With a government shutdown, we're going to see delayed reports, right, and economic data. At NFP, we saw last week that was delayed. If we get CPI data, right, that will be delayed. Those are labor data as well. That it's more important for us because this is what the Federal Reserves focus on in order to make their decisions on interest rates. So when we're getting these delays, it gives a lot of uncertainty in the markets, right? So this is why, like a good example, somebody said that buy gold, right? That's why gold buys has been the easiest play. Does that make sense, guys? Put a one if that makes sense. Did y'all guys take advantage of gold buys last week? What was the trades y'all took advantage of last week? Like gold buys pretty much was the best ones, right? Anybody took advantage of that? How easy it was, right? Because of the uncertainty that we're having in the markets. So now, moving forward, what needs to happen to end it, right? Congress, obviously, they have to pass a new funding bill, temporary agreement, right? called a continuing resolution, right? So when you guys are watching headlines, that's something that you guys have to pay attention for. Shirley says gold paid bills. Yeah, good job. Yeah, Jay, you did. Julio, you did. Yeah, man, good job, guys. Yeah, I took advantage of it. Jay, I'll look into market gap in a few. But this is what we need to pay attention to moving forward, is when is this going to end, right? What's going to happen if it does end? We're going to hear commentary, most likely. I forgot what his name is. Schumer and the U.S. secretary in the White House. We're going to hear them talking a lot, right? Continue resolution. Both parties have to compromise their spending demands. Just pay attention to the language, right? When you see right now, it's like we're not making a deal. We're not being bullied into a deal, right? Trump, hell with him. That's the conversation right now. Eventually, we're going to see a middle ground. When you start seeing that middle ground, that's going to be the opportunity, okay, for reversals. Typically, like overall, I still expect gold longer term buys, right? But this could cause a minor pullback because we're probably going to see a little bit of the upside moves get recovered if we see uncertainty starts to ease off, okay? But the signal is going to be equities. If we see equities continuously not care about this shutdown, then most likely if there is any sort of peace talks within these politics, right, we probably ain't going to see anything neither, right? So it's a possibility. Maybe gold as a retracement could be an opportunity other than anything else. All right, guys? So just to wrap those things up. So last week we didn't get the NFP data. So most likely when it ends, they're going to let us know when it's going to be the follow-up for the NFP event. And then that's when we're going to look for opportunities. But for now, right, just how the markets reacted, we saw gold push higher. Equities, no clear sign of fears, but on Friday we saw a little downside. Moving forward, we're going to focus on the shutdown like I was expecting, what I was saying earlier. We're also going to focus on Fed speakers and focus on price action. Focus on risk sentiment. See if we get risk on or risk off markets so you guys could take advantage of this week. All right, guys. So that's what we're going to look at. And then most important data this week, we have a rate decision for the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. So if you guys do trade that, that's going to be the NZD currency. But that's if you guys actually trade that. Now, what I'll talk about is I want to go over, just check oil real quick. So no coincidence, right? We got the spike in oil at open. Did you guys watch the video? Does this make sense, right? So this is what we was talking about for oil buys. This was pretty much ideal that happened to spike higher. But let's see if we could get the continuations for the remainder of the session. But this is really just because of right here, right? We saw an increase in oil production by 137 barrels, 137,000. Expectations was around 200K. So lowering the fact that even though they increased production, the reason why this is the opposite, right? Because usually when they increase production, that is aligning traders to be looking for sales on oil, right? But the fact that it wasn't as high as what the markets was expecting, this is still kind of like they're cutting production, but it's not, right? So they disappointed them. That now we're going to start seeing more upside in oil prices. But the focus now, when depending on what they do with production moving forward, it's going to be dictated based off of growth. Why that's important? Because if OPEC is starting to see growth is strong, right, they're going to put more oil into an economy, right? Increasing oil production, right? More activity. Oil prices will push lower if we see stronger growth. But if OPEC starts seeing the opposite, if they start seeing growth concerns, we're going to see more production cuts. That's going to increase the price of oil. So moving forward, paying attention to OPEC Plus is going to give us an idea on what's going to happen with growth. And that's what's going to really help you guys with more intraday and swing trades. All right. So this is just for you guys that do trade oil, just to give you guys an update regarding that. Okay. So now just moving forward, we could talk about the Reserve Bank, right? That's going to be, I do trade these events live. this is where we get really good opportunities for swing trades. Okay. And just a reminder, if you guys have questions, don't hesitate to ask. Okay. But we do trade these events live. But this week we have the Reserve Bank of New Zealand. We could get some really good opportunities from this, right? So for this meeting, they're expecting to hold interest rates. 85% chance of a hold. There's still a 15% chance of a cut. So the RBNZ, they already cut rates multiple times, right? This year supporting lower growth. That's the reason why. And also inflation is heading near, it's already inside their target range of 1% to 3%. Okay. So if the economy continues to remain weak, this is where we're going to see if forward guidance is going to be the focus, right? So meaning the rate decision, they may pause rates. That's not where we look for trades. It's going to be from the actual press conference or the headlines afterwards. If they're signaling that inflation numbers are still pushing lower or fear of weaker growth, that's where we're going to be looking to sell the NZD currency. If we do get the opposite, if they're expecting inflation to rise or they're not expecting to move, not cut rates, then we're going to look for NZD buys. All right, guys. So just take a screenshot just so you guys can have notes for yourselves for the rate decision if you plan to focus on it or trade it. Now, the top news for so far, what we got going on, again, is just the government shutdown this week. So I would say more importantly, what we're going to focus on is price action, right? Price action and Fed speakers. It's going to be extremely important to focus on those main things this week because they're the ones that's going to really give us an edge moving forward, right? Put this in the weekly prep. Because look at the list of Fed speakers that we got this week. Insane, right? They're going to be saying a whole lot about what's going on, right? So if we already got Fed speakers so far telling us that they're more concerned about inflation, right? We already got it. We already got all that noise so far from Fed speakers. Inflation is a concern, right? Especially with the shutdown, it's going to make the Feds even more uncertain, especially if this continuously drags on. And if this does drag on, we're going to be looking at the dollar already pushing higher as expected, right? But let's get to the higher time frame because I would like to see from a macro perspective, I want to see dollar push higher because the bigger picture is still sells overall. And I'm anticipating I'm anticipating better sell opportunities overall when it comes to the dollar. So what I want to see happen, right, is if we could start retesting some key areas, right, if dollar could give us that pullback, right, especially if this week the Fed speakers do come out and they're talking about pausing interest rates. A lot of them start aligning with themselves with pausing interest rates, right? This is what I want to see. I want to see if we could start seeing this area of resistance around 98.500, 98.6 hold. Once we tap this area, that's where we should start anticipating if we could get some relief in the dollar following the bigger picture of interest rate cuts, right? But once we start hitting that zone, we need obviously, hopefully the government shutdown can end because we still have weaker labor data, right? So if we still see data is worse than expected, especially at the end of the government shutdown, we see weaker data. If dollar could push higher now, we should be looking for intraday sales later on, as long as the dovish outlook is still intact. Make sense, guys? So let's let this see, because as we can see in the past, how many times we hit these areas, and just imagine the type of intraday hold that you can get just from those zones following the bigger picture of the Feds. So this is why, right, I'm still long-term higher on gold. I still like dollar sells. I still like upside in equities. But for now, the shutdown does impact those longer-term projections, right, because of what's going on. But this is just to give you guys an idea. You can obviously, if we do get stronger dollar, you could take advantage of the buys if you choose to, but at least you guys could understand the bigger picture and understand why. Okay. So just looking at gold, we are testing a key resistance area. I don't recommend, like, probably just give it time. Let's see what happens at 9 p.m. Eastern, right? Just give it some time then. But market structure still extremely bullish. We're not really seeing any, like, I don't see any clear price action as of yet to be looking for sells, right? But so far, it's just been buying from the lows. Like every time we get a pullback, expect some buys from the lows. And we could just see right here, we are forming a range, which is a good sign. But hopefully, we don't see a breakout that happen now. Hopefully it waits until 9 p.m. Eastern, we get some volume. But ideally, right, if we could see gold give us that spike higher, what I want to see is if we could just consolidate at this zone first, fail to break support, right? Fail to break this area support, then start looking for those buys holding above 38.96, because we're already most likely going to tap that key area 3900. And I believe Keegan, you said that was going to hit. Anybody still holding swing trades? Anybody still holding gold from last week? Or everybody took profit? I took profit on Fridays. I took profit on Friday though. But as of now, I'm not looking for sells. It could be a technical setup. I would see for sells, but I would probably be a little more patient. Like where price action is now, maybe a good technical sell would be below 38.60, right? Because you just don't want to just take high risk sells at the highs, because markets is not really proven to us that is looking for bearish price action, right? If we could get stronger dollar, stronger yields, then if we could get a break below a key area structure, then that could be more ideal for more bearish price action in the dollar. Okay, so that's what I would most likely look forward to. Now for this week, right? Just to give you guys an idea, the beginning of the week, like we do got UK PMI London session, so we could focus on that. But when it comes to New York, the shutdown is still happening. So I believe that this is heavily invested into Fed speakers this week. And we're going to be seeing more headlines about the government and what's going to happen next. I think that's going to be more of a focus. So the rate decisions on Tuesday is going to be at 9. Wednesday, we got the FOMC meeting minutes, right? And that's going to be at 2. And this is what we're going to really focus on, especially if this continues, right? Stuff like this, that could make the FOMC meeting minutes like commentary change drastically. They could literally say everything opposite. Like they're probably not going to say the same comments from the last rate decision. We could actually see them be more hawkish pause, right? Which could lead to a stronger dollar. And I'm going to check the COT reports, because I have a feeling that investors are shifting from selling the dollar into actually buying the dollar because of what's been going on. I have a feeling that's what's really going on too. And we can see we got initial jobless claims. We're not going to have that this week if this continues. And we got Jerome Powell speaking at 8:30 on. Instead of that, we're going to have Jerome Powell speaking at 8:30. So Jerome Powell speaking this week, and it's going to be extremely important to hear what he has to say, okay? Especially if he speaks on monetary policy. And this Friday, we got CAD labor data. So that's what we're going to focus on is CAD, right? So when it comes to the U.S. data, it's really nothing going on, okay? Because of this actual shutdown, delaying economic data, and it's going to delay opportunities because the Feds wants to cut rates, but they want to see weaker labor data first. So if they can't get no data, there's no forward guidance for them to actually move upon. So we're going to have to play the patient and calm game moving forward. All right. So it's just going to take patience, guys. Like, don't rush into trades. If you are taking technical trades, that's going to be, to me, that's going to be the main focus, is taking some real technical trades. All right. Diving forward. All right, guys. What caused the gap in GJ is most likely because of the weaker yen. So yeah, like you could look at the, like so far risk sentiment, you could just see like AUD pushed higher, NZD, CAD, dollar spiked higher, the yen dropped lower. So that's the reason why, is because the yen dropped lower. And it's just market open, you know, so a lot of liquidity is going into the markets. A lot of volume is coming into the markets. News headlines that happened over the weekend, like especially what I said about OPEC, right? So a lot of this is impacting the markets right now. Like, so, right, we can see a risk on market because OPEC is still, they're not showing market, like they're not showing weaker growth, right? They still see stability. right? So that's a good signal. That could cause a risk on market globally. Okay. But that's why we still have to focus on like what's going to happen next. Don't just take an immediate reaction right away on, unless you guys are already on buys, but just like, I think this is the opportunity and we're probably going to see oil consolidate afterwards, but just focus on growth. But the spike is just all because the market open. And so far, a stronger dollar, and we're not seeing gold react. And I think, equities, at least, equities not really giving us a reaction. But what questions you guys have now? So I'm pretty much wrapped up. So if you guys have questions, now is a good time. Kalan, you could join the private group. Everything is there for you. Do you think the dollar will move out of consolidation? I don't think. Like right now, when it comes to the dollar moving out of consolidation, I don't think we're gonna get that yet. You know, I feel like dollar, we're just gonna stay stuck within this range between 96.5 into 99. Like, right. So I could see us staying stuck within into this range. I don't think that we're gonna break out of this anytime soon, unless we get a clear edge, right? So especially with the shutdown, we're not gonna get a clear edge. So we need to see economic data, everything signaling rate cuts, or we have to see that the inflation is still high, labor data is still high, then we're just going to get a bullish direction. But for now, I think we're just going to be stuck in that higher time frame range. Yes, Vardo, the terminal's fixed, so you should be able to. I'm surprised you're not getting all these headlines. Yeah, so everything is good. I'm surprised you're not getting. You should have been getting all these headlines. I thought it was going to be annoying, yeah. But yeah, it's good. All right, guys. So far, everybody's good. Put a 1 if you have questions. Now is a good time to ask. Kevin. Yeah, it's a possibility right here. Yeah, but can't really say his name. But winning the election, right? Because it depends on the party, and most likely, I believe, is the It's the Democrat Party has won, right? And I believe they're more for like pretty much they're more for QE, more for spending. So that's going to weaken the yen also. So yes, it's a huge possibility. That's why the yen is pushing lower. If you were to choose between funded challenges and funding your own account, like, I mean, I've been doing this for like 10 years. So I'm always a fan of using your own account. That's what I did before. But I recommend just prove to yourself that you could pass the challenge in a demo or with your live account, right? So just follow the challenge, but to yourself without just giving them money and blowing it. Prove to yourself that you could pass it. Or if you already know that you could pass it, then give it a shot if you're asking from that way. But in reality, if you can't manage $100, you can't manage whatever a prop firm gives you. So just prove to yourself first that you could do it. If you can, then yeah, like whatever option you want to do, you would know what to do. You wouldn't have to ask that question. You know, you would know what you would definitely know what to do. No, Chevrolet. So that's not going to access the 147. No, you're going to be is something else that I'm gonna have for you guys. Yes, Dina, it's on YouTube as well. You can just follow the link on my bio to go on YouTube. It's a better view on YouTube. We have 3 more months to the end of the year. What's your advice to make it big before the year comes to an end without being too impatient? I mean, yeah, that's a good question, but just I just recommend, Paul, like, did you join our Sunday call, right? Join our Sunday call. Join our finance call that we do. Like, if you haven't yet, just watch this. The 50-30-20 method. Like, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, show up, right? Apply the information that you're learning. Your life could change within 2 to 3 weeks if you just apply the information that you're learning every single day, right? So everything that we go over here, just apply it, right? And then you're going to be having stories like people from here. You're going to see all of these stories and you're going to be one of them. Like, the reason why they're doing it is because they're doing something different and they're transforming, right? Their lives are changing because they're applying the information that they're learning. That's the only difference between the people that are winning compared to who is not, is just that they're applying the information. They're taking a chance with their education and then they're applying it. Because all the information you need is right in front of you. You don't have to go nowhere else. Like, and it's not just Americans, it's people from all over the globe, different women, men. There's probably teenagers in here, grown men, grown women, fathers, workers, everybody, different background. Full-time traders, working a job, everybody's succeeding because they're applying the information that they're learning. So just application is it's literally the next step. That's just all it takes, is just application. Yeah, I think Hassett, the reason why gold is not moving is most likely, it's probably because it's just not time yet. Like, it's probably not time yet. Let's see what happens at 9 p.m. I think that would be a good time to see if we get some good movement. Yeah, exactly. Paul, it's just applying the information. It takes action now because you know everything that you need to do, but it's a difference to apply it, right? So that's what separates people, is action. So you say technical analysts should be able to I mean, yeah, like, when you're using technicals, understand that it's 50-50, right? So I like gold buys, obviously, because of the uncertainty. So as long as the uncertainty is there, you're trading gold, you should take those buys. But if you're trading anything else, right, I would say just wait until like London open or wait until New York. If you want to be patient, then wait until you get a clear edge. If you're just trading technicals only, then you just have to be more patient when it comes to that, right? Just lower your risk. You could take a scalp, right, if you choose to, but if the trade turns into a loss, that's just what it is, right? Trading when you don't really have an edge, because we don't have anything new that is currently happening in the markets yet. Yeah, silver is like gold too. The difference is just the volume that it has. Just gold just has more. It's just more investors in gold than silver. That's just it. But they're commodities, so they're gonna move in the same direction. I'm hearing somebody. Oh, that's all. Yeah, trying to look into the election so far. All right, so the Liberal Democrat Party. Yeah, so the Democrat Party won. Okay, so the former PM resigned, so that was the issue. So hawkish on defense spending, aggressive on physical support. So that means, yeah, the government is borrowing, which leans to a weaker Japanese currency. So that's where, because there's central banks and then there's political, right? That's where physical policy becomes an issue. So the physical policies like government spending is going to impact the yen, because the party that won, they're more in line into more aggressive spending, right? So that's going to actually weaken the currency. More stimulus they're trying to put more stimulus into their currency. So that's the problem. That's why we're seeing a weaker yen because of this election. So like right now, I do like the reason for a weaker yen. The only way I can see the yen getting stronger is if we have like risk off flows. But that's really what's setting the tone right now for those yen currencies. That's why we see like UJ pushing higher and GJ is pushing higher. Does that make sense? I know somebody said something about GJ. So it's really because of the election that's going on. The news app is on the Discord. So if you want all the news is in the Discord. It's not free. I pay for it myself and I just give it to you guys. So it's not like free. Please can you give some advice on how can we fix this when the markets make a decent amount of money and trends to give it back to the markets? That's interesting because we just did a call like that today. You know, just to show you guys, this is what we talked about today. And how to not you make some money, how to not give it back to the markets, right? That's just called mindset and emotional control. It's literally what we did today, right? So that like literally what could help you is trading with a plan. You know, what is your plan? What is your plan to execute, right? So if, for example, like me, if I'm trading this event and I take an opportunity for that event, I did my job, right? So in order for me to take another trade, I'm waiting for another opportunity, okay? So at that moment, you can make a decision to withdraw your money if you choose to, right? Or take partials. But other than that, most people give money back because you just don't have a plan or a structure to follow. That's just really what's going on. Make sense? So it all comes down to an actual trading plan. That's how you just don't give money back, right? And take right here, we talked about it too. When you lose a trade, it happens. But just your losses can't overpower the wins that you had. So just lower your lot size. You get what I mean? So she once said that the rate should remain the same. So she is dovish. No, yeah, because even though the Bank of Japan is out of the negative territory of rates, they was discussing before rate hikes, but inflation is not for Japan is not showing that they're in the verge of rate hikes, right? Because inflation is not rising the way that they was expecting it to. So they was already remaining neutral that whole time. But I think what she's going to do is she's probably going to want to bring the yen back into negative territory when it comes to their interest rates. And they're probably she's dovish. So that's her whole agenda, right? She wants more physical spending, right? So that's more money in the economy. So that's more QE. So that's going to weaken the currency because of them. Yeah. So you're on track, Kevin. Oh, you live in Japan. So that, yeah, that makes it easier. Yeah, it makes it a whole lot easier. I mean, that's fucking crazy, dude. How was the last prime minister over there? Like, because it happened last time, right? When he was actually going in Verge, it was he sucked, right? Yeah, because I believe the Democrats was taken over before, but to me, it's not a coincidence. After they signed the trade deal, then he resigns, right? And then all of this, then like he really resigns after the trade deal. So like, I don't think it's a coincidence. But once they signed a trade deal with the U.S., then that's when all this shit went downhill. Right. Then there's like, oh, now we're going back to the Democrat Party. Right. Because it happened before when he won the election, the yen gained strength because he was trying to increase rates. Yeah. Like, so I like that's just how physical policy could make a impact. Right. Because when he came in, the yen gained strength because he was more hawkish. Now he's getting out. And now we're having a dovish members coming in. Now we're seeing the yen get weaker. So it's just the same shit over and over and over. So like a question, what's good? You do this every day? Yes, I do this every day. But I do this every day with the private group. The live streams, I probably do it for you guys, like for the weekly prep. And go to YouTube and give me a like, but also hit the notification bell because if I plan to go live, right, I'm probably not gonna be able to tell you guys. It's just off the whim. But if you get the notification, then you know I'm live and for like economic data and stuff like that. or if I do like a midweek recap for you guys just to get set for the midweek. So just make sure you hit the notification on YouTube. But yeah, I should have added the prime minister, the new PM for Japan. I should have added that in the weekly prep too. But that's a good example for actual policy. Man, I broke even on BTC by last week at 116K. Yeah, man. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Just imagine the amount of people. Y'all remember when Bitcoin was at like 100K, and that was such a big thing. It was at 100K. Like, what was happening? I think that was during like Trump coming into office, right? Y'all remember like when Trump was coming into office, he was like so pro crypto, but people was focusing on meme coins and shit. But like the whole administration was so pro crypto, but that was when it was at like 100K. And you can just see the technicals, right? You just see the retest. This is the weekly though, but it's just like no coincidence, especially when there's problems going on with the government. There's problems going on with central banks, uncertainty. Like, it's definitely a good fundamental. To me, that's like the only fundamental reason to get into Bitcoin, when there's a lot of uncertainty regarding money or politics. But dang, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people holding on it, like probably Bitcoin millionaires. And I know that yeah, you got fucked in. I made a bag on the Trump coin when it first came out. Like, I did. But I never got into it after that. Yeah, like definitely those pullbacks is gonna be, yeah. I think they definitely gonna sweep the rug on somebody. Like, yeah, because imagine, you know how many people, like, just imagine how many people are buying up here. So it's just simple technicals, right? You're gonna imagine how many people are buying up there. That's just gonna get swept out. We're probably gonna see another big pullback. I could see price coming back to 100K, and then recovering afterwards. Like, obviously we're gonna get those pullbacks, but I don't think it's a coincidence. Like, one of the big things was Tesla. Like, Tesla, we was talking about it in the private group regarding Tesla when all the Elon Musk shit was happening. Like, Tesla was like, yeah, like we was talking about it when it was like down, yeah, right here at the support around 300. That was crazy. I know a few of you took it, still holding those too, took advantage of that too. But that's the thing, when you learn this stuff, when you learn fundamentals, you can apply it to anything, right? Because you're gonna understand cause and effect. That's the whole purpose. It's like learning cause and effect. If this happens, how would the markets react to it, right? So that's the whole purpose of this. Hey, what's up, Wesley? No, I'm not saying it like that, but I don't trade. I don't trade the meme coins. That was just the only time I took it. That was just that one time. How can I man up? How can I map up the divergence between pairs and take advantage of a stronger one? Well, first you have to understand the bigger picture, right? What currency is stronger and what currency is weaker and why, right? So we have an example, like just right now, we have an example of a weaker yen, right? So we understand what is going on, what is making the yen weaker. And then now you could compare it to a stronger currency. I like the idea of a stronger dollar because I feel like the pauses, like pretty much what's going on with the government shutdown is going to make the feds stay more patient when it comes to their decisions on cuts. So that could also strengthen the dollar. So that's how you could find divergence between a stronger currency and a weaker currency. right? So if this rate decision that happens this week with New Zealand, right, if we see that if we see that they are more dovish, right, or they're more hawkish or more dovish, right, you could pair, right, we see that as a weaker NZD and a stronger NZD against a stronger AUD. So the Reserve Bank of so pretty much the Reserve Bank of Australia, they're more dovish, right? So if New Zealand's rate decision that comes up this week, if they say that they're more likely to pause rates, they're not likely, they don't see weaker growth yet, they're concerned about inflation, right? Then you're going to most likely sell this pair because we got a weaker AUD, Reserve Bank of Australia, and then we're going to have a stronger New Zealand. Make sense? So that's how you could pinpoint one stronger currency against a weaker. You know, you could look at past events, like what's making the currency stronger and weaker, then you pair the two currencies together. Because typically that's what's really going to go on. It's not a coincidence, like the bigger picture. So that's what could really help you. Genuine question: when you had your grind in trading, how do you diversify your profits and grow your riches to build wealth? I mean, it just all depends on, like Sono. It depends on, pretty much depends on you, right? Like everybody's situation is different. Like everybody lives at a different country, so it's never pretty, but if you could make a withdrawal at the end of the week, like every Fridays, if you could last that long, do it. Sometimes people make $1,000 in a day, and it's okay to just withdraw 500 or 300 from that. I think the idea, you know, like a lot of people is missing is just to feel how real this is, right? Because most people that are in this industry is not haven't been profitable yet, not to a point where they could actually withdraw money. Like first, see how real it is. Even if you make $10 freaking dollars, withdraw the $10, see it hit your bank account so you could visualize and understand how real it is first, right? So a lot of those type of questions, you're going to know when you have a strategy, when you start building a plan, when you start applying it, right? You're like, when you add all of those things together, right? You're going to eventually know what to do. You're going to know when to make withdrawals. You're going to know when to increase your lot size. You're going to know when to do your next step. You know what I'm saying? So it just make sure just go through, it's just levels, right? Just make sure you're just doing the levels. Like that's why I have the Discord. It's just because it shouldn't take you guys 5 to 10 fucking years to figure it out, right? If I figured it out, and I give everything here and I go live with you guys, I help you guys stay intact. You just have to apply the information. That's just really it. And it's not to change anything that you're doing. A lot of times you just need accountability, right? Sometimes you can't figure the answer out for yourself, but it's good to have somebody to say, hey, could you help me with this? And then I answer it for you. Then you have another question. Could you help me with that? Then I answer it for you. Hey, I need help with this. Then I answer it for you. Then you got these questions that's answered, and then your knowledge is growing up and up and up. But most people don't want to figure it out. Like most people want free shit on YouTube, and that's why they just stuck in that endless cycle, right? I didn't get better watching videos on how I made $100,000 this week. But you guys y'all just love that shit. I don't know why. Control what you don't want to waste energy of the. Yeah, exactly. How you doing? Growing fast, you deserve. I appreciate you, Alex. Yeah, excited to have you back, dog. Do you have fixed trading hour sessions? Like, yeah, we go live every day. New York session, like London session. It depends if there's something important going on. I'll go live for it. Asian session, we do our market updates every session. If there's like economic data that's important over Asian session, we go live for it. So it's just not like, it's just not like we're just on a chart watching paint dry 24/7. It's just when there's opportunities, we take advantage of that. Thanks for a lot of the in-depth knowledge. Yeah, no problem, son. Like, asking because I might have to reorganize time zone. There's people here from all over the country. There's people here from the United Kingdom. Yeah, go to Spiking High at that breaker structure. I'm pretty sure there's a few of you that took those buys here. But this is like, to me, when I normally see dollar pushing up like this and the dollar is pushing up, I would like to say that this is more of a risk off market, but it's not, So yeah, Tiara, you took those buys. Yeah, I guess 9 o'clock ain't going to happen. Usually when we see dollar and gold pushing up, it could be a risk off market, but I don't see that. It's completely opposite of that. Yeah, I don't see that risk off market. Yeah, I'm going to watch oil today too. But bullish for commodities overall, though. It's a really good sign. Bullish for commodities overall so far at market open. Yeah, good job, Tierra. Yeah, if I'm sending some of you guys messages too, that's me, okay? Like I'm talking about cuz I'm asking you guys to because every week what I'm going to do I'm going to do a member spotlight. So that's me messaging you guys, not the scammer. Okay, guys? Yeah, you're welcome, Michael. Yeah, any questions you have, just ask, brother. But yeah, we got people here from all over, like London's, like people in Europe, UK, Australia, Japan. So yeah, man, like you'll have time, and plus everything is recorded, so you don't have to really worry about that. And then like what you get access to as well, right? So when you join, like you're gonna have a checklist here. So you have a whole complete checklist on what to focus on every single session, how to apply it. I gave you guys a full breakdown, a full checklist, right? Because that's what a lot of us is missing, is having an actual checklist on how to put together information on central banks, right? Also, like you could get access to the course as well. So you got all the information here. You're going to get access to technical, fundamental courses. So everything you need is going to be in here. So don't just like join and then just go straight to the live calls and be like, oh shit, what's going on, right? Like when you join, study. Like literally within a month, you'll be a different person if you apply the information. And I'm not just saying that. Like there's literally people in the private group that will tell you that. What are the correlations between some of the pairs? I mean, it depends on what you like. That's intermarket analysis. So that's also in the course. So I talk about intermarket analysis, right? If like an example, if China has weaker growth, right, that's going to weaken the AUD and NZD currency, right? So like understanding stuff like that does help. Like a risk on, risk off market, we understand safe havens gain strength, risk assets get weaker, right? So that's like all of that stuff is what I teach here too. So you're not trading blindly. That's the whole purpose. How to join? You could join the link in my bio, brother. The bang, what the fuck? Yeah, crazy. Yeah, the link is in my bio, or you can message me on Instagram. If the Gaza deal holds, do you think it would make a good sell? I mean, good question, Fetus King, but I don't think so. I don't think this war with Gaza is actually that important to the markets at the moment. You know, I don't think it. The only way I could see how geopolitical tensions could, right, most likely, the only way I could see gold recover this move, because a lot of this upside is due to the government. It's the uncertainty of the government shutdown. So I would say that could be the only technical reason we could probably look for a retracement. Probably we could get a retracement like this if we get, most likely if the deal, right, if the Gaza deal actually holds, that's just not enough, because if we look at the stock market, it doesn't care, right? It's not caring about these type of situations. But for gold in general, we need the Gaza deal to finalize. We need the government to open up again. And then it'll be nice to have like something else that could, like stronger dollar, right? Stronger yields, a hawkish Fed. All of that would probably be a good sign to see a sell-off on gold. But just one thing alone, I don't think it's enough. But the sell-off is just going to set up for better buy positions later on. And then we're going to look for back to upside, right? Because weaker dollar is the bigger picture. You get what I'm saying? So if you're buying at highs, like I don't want to say like, oh, take your scalps and take profit, because yes, gold could still continue to push higher, but you like just remember, like they say that us as humans, that we are investors as humans, right? We're always freaking late to the party. We're always late. So like people was wanting to buy gold now at 39, and gold has been bullish ever since Trump been president, right? So it's like we had all the uncertainty this whole year. So when those reversals come, if it ever does, right, and we ever get those reasons, may take a year from now, but at least like with the knowledge you're getting now, right, you're going to be able to hold those type of swing trades. Like if I ask you guys, in order to sell equities to all-time lows, right, what needs to happen in order for you to really trust the fact of NASDAQ pushing lower other than technicals, right? What has to happen in order for you to have confidence in selling NASDAQ? Right? Like what's going to happen? Like would you guys know what has to happen in order for me to be a actual seller in the stock market? Right? Because these are the things that you're going to have to know in order to take advantage of it, right? Like the institutions know, hedge funds know, right? They know. So why don't you guys know, right? So that's the type of information you should be understanding, right? So yeah, people in the group know, like black swan event, hawkish Fed, increase in interest rates if that ever happens. Yeah, like look what happened with 2020, right? Some crazy stuff like that. It may be something similar, but probably not, but something different, right? A war maybe if the U.S. shows involvement, right? Like stuff like what happens with is NASDAQ. So what about tech? Like what has to happen with tech in order to catch sales? Because this sucks. Like you must be a fool to sell tech stocks now, right? But what has to happen? What was the reasons for NASDAQ to give us those pullbacks, right? Competition. Like NASDAQ hate competition. Y'all remember what happened with DeepSeek, right? Just the competition is what dropped it. So when you learn stuff like this, that's what helps you take advantage of swing trades. That's what helps you find an edge. You get what I mean? So if you can understand a cause, like you understand cause and effect, that's what helps you become a really good investor. That's just all that it takes, right? But you have to learn how to get that information, because history just repeats itself when it comes to the situations are always different, but the way the markets move is the same, right? Like the way COVID happened, and then compare it to tariffs. Stock markets both dropped, right? When we have the feds doing quantitative easing, what happened to the stock market, right? So when 2020 happened, like COVID happened, we saw the stock markets drop. But how come when people was locked up, the stock market is hitting all-time highs? It's because of the Federal Reserve. And then y'all listening to people that tells you don't pay attention to that stuff, right? So imagine you could have been buying, if you don't have your 401k, how comes people's 401ks from COVID hitting all-time highs? But retail traders ain't doing it. But your investment accounts, because investing accounts like institutions like Fidelity, Vanguard, like they understand this stuff, right? They're just buying because they understand what the feds do. Swing trade and intraday it depends on the situation. But so far this year, I've been more intraday and scalping. Last year, like 2-3 years ago, I was more swing trades because the markets was it was one-sided. And that's what I'm trying to lean to because of COVID, what the Federal Reserve was doing at that time, how inflation was acting, right? It was more one-sided. Now we're just in that indecision situation. So is the government lockdown bullish for indices? No, no. It was the fact that it has nothing to do with the lockdown. It was the fact that the Federal Reserve had to protect the economy during that time, during lockdowns. So they did quantitative easing. Remember, stimulus was going out, right? So that is what I think you're from Africa, so it's different from you. But it was the fact that they did quantitative easing. So that's why the stock market was rising while people was still at home, not working and buying anything, right? So that's the problem. Yeah, I'm glad you liked the live, brother. South Africa, what's up? Yeah, Forex is very big in South Africa. I caught the gold buys and I tripled my account. Good job, JR. Hell yeah. Yeah, but makes sense though, right? So when you understand that stuff, like that's why when you understand like what happened during 2020, how come no institutions and no banks failed? How come we didn't see no big banks going bankrupt? Because obviously it's inside trading, but they're trading it in the direction that the Federal Reserve they're reacting to what the Feds are doing, or but predicting what they're going to do. Right? Obviously, it's so much more in depth that we could never figure out. Right? But if you understand how, like right now, if I tell you, if we had NFP data last week and it was worse than expected, which direction you think the dollar will go? Right? So if you don't know that, that's the problem. But if you do know that, then you're a step ahead than the majority, right? And then just imagine you just keeping and applying that type of information and knowledge every single day. And then plus when you're trading every day, just understanding what's going on in the markets, that's how you get better. The only way you're going to fail is if it all comes to your psychology. It's going to come down to your risk management. Most of y'all have very bad risk management. Y'all great fucking traders. You know, yeah, join the links in the bio, brother. Like a lot of you are great traders. It's just that y'all suck at risk management because that's what y'all being taught, to over leverage. Y'all being taught to everything quick, fast, and easy. You know what I'm saying? So y'all look at trading differently than y'all look at a career job. You look at trading as if, oh, this is a actual scam to get rich. And it's not. It's a skill set, right? You wouldn't do this in any other thing. You wouldn't act this way nowhere else but here, because all it takes is a click of a button. But it's still a skill set, you know, and most of y'all don't give yourselves time to get better at that. But if most of you just follow 2% per day, 2% per trade, a lot of you will be very great traders because of your risk management and placing proper stop losses. Most of y'all place stop losses based off of how you feel, and that's the problem. Yeah, Varda, I think gold is right. Anybody took the buys on gold besides, I know Tiara did, a few others did. Anybody else enjoying that? It's a good Sunday, man. I think that's really at open is a good job. It weakens the dollar, Tristan, because it anticipates rate cuts, because Jerome Powell just told us that he is focusing in the labor market. So if the labor markets continue to ease off, that would further his decision into wanting to cut interest rates. So none of it is like, I'm just making the shit up. Like he tells us, right? Like they tell us. That's why I know it's boring, you know, but they tell us what they're going to do. Now, personally, I know Vardo thinks it's going to hit 4K, but I'm not into buys though. I wasn't planning on entering trades today anyway, but I know a few of y'all, like I said, most of y'all like trade technicals, really good at it, but y'all took your profits. Don't give it back. Don't get that money back, guys. I don't know. So I don't know. Thanks, man. Will be when I have time to sit and listen to the wise words. Yeah, have a good one, man. Have a good one. Hey. All right, guys. Hopefully this was helpful. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys are good. If you got questions, ask now. So it's good to take a trade off just the breaker structure alone, or wait for, I mean, it depends on what's your technicals, right? What kind of technicals you like to follow. But typically, you know, you can see history repeats itself when it comes to the breaker structure. Normally when you get consolidation, when we get a breaker structure, it's a higher probability we're going to continue within that direction. Right. So it's no coincidence, once like the same type of price action that we had, an order block, that you get a breaker structure, it's just a higher probability it goes in that direction. You get what I'm saying? So that's why I like order blocks and breaker structure, support, resistance. It's the same stuff. It's the same thing, but you want to see consolidation, right? Because then it's giving you a higher probability that a direction is going to follow. And just looking at how gold reacts, pretty much just looking at price action at this point, right? Like you could just see here, order block, break a structure, higher probability in that direction. You get an order block, break a structure, right? Higher probability. Right here, break a structure, higher probability, right? Order block, right here, order block, break a structure, right? So it's just being patient. You know, usually what happens, it could be a news headline, it could be economic data, it could be news, right? That gives you that extra confirmation. But when you trade in technicals, right, you just waiting, like you could take the break of structure, you're hoping to get some volume to come in place, but price action has been mimicking the same stuff over and over again. But there could be a day where you take this same trade and then you see this candle happen, right? You see this break of structure happen, and then the next candle just drops. Like that happens, right? So there's times that you know, it could go against you, but those are the odds that you have to deal with. But what I like to tell you guys is, you know how it feels when a trade is going in your direction, right? You see how price action is when it goes in your direction. So when a trade goes against you, right away, you just start hoping. Yeah, David, happens many times, right? Like right away, you just start hoping. And you're like, oh man, I hope that it goes in my way. The moment that feeling comes, that you know you fucked up, right? You know that, oh, it's a higher probability now is going to go against me, right? So we can see how here we got this support is still holding, right? We broke the resistance. So if you're in a buy, you feel very confident that it's going in your favor. But what happens if it does the opposite, right? You're going to see a red candle coming in place. How you know the trade is invalid is when it breaks an area of structure where you will be looking for a sell, right? So that's how you know if the trade is invalid. If it goes and breaks the area of structure, will you be looking for the opposite direction if you're a technical trader? So that's how you should be placing your trades. You could exit the trade early, right? If you see it does the opposite. But what gives you more confidence, even if I'm entering a buy here and if gold pulls back, the only way I'll be more confident to still hold is if the reason why I entered gold buys was because of like a news headline or economic data, right? Then it's like, okay, I'll eat that drawdown because I'm still very convinced that gold should go in my favor. But when it's technicals, it's just 50-50. And that's just the reality. Mo 17. Yeah, we talked about that earlier, but yeah, man, thanks for that update. Yeah, for people that are new, the Bank of Japan new prime minister was elected. So weakened the yen and it strengthened the stock market. So, yeah, I didn't look at the Japan stock market neither. I don't even think most of y'all brokers trade it. But as you guys can see, so yeah, it's all the way over here. But I don't even, yeah, mine's is not open yet. I know I got to change the feed, but the Japan stock market is going to most likely push higher because it is going to be a dovish reaction in the markets. Yeah, Julio, definitely study it. Ask questions just like that, you know, especially over the live call. So like it helps. Yeah, everything is in the Discord, brother. Do you use the footprint chart? I don't know what that is. Yeah, exactly, Andre. That's why we see gaps. So you see it helps, right? So most people will look at the gap and be like, oh, shit, just break a structure. No explanation, right? But the yen got weaker because there was a new prime minister election. And the prime minister that was elected, they're more dovish. They're more about, it's more physical spending. But yeah, man, that's why it's important to know this information, dude, because it's crazy. Like I was the same way. Like they were telling us that it's not important. The focus on fundamentals is not important. Oh, technicals. No, the yen is the yen technicals is showing us that there was going to be a new prime minister elected, right? So that's how they want us to believe, you know? It just takes it takes effort. It does, but that's transformation. So if you don't want to take in the effort, that's why you're never going to change. Like if it's like you still wanting shit to be easy, and that's the problem. Like you're going to have to be a different person in order to get better at this. You're going to have to be a total different person. Like, I'm sorry that people make it seem like it's so freaking easy. I mean, it's after once you get the knowledge, yeah, like you'll figure it out. You took the UJ bias. That's pretty ballsy, dude. But good job if you did. like I can understand why the dollar is rising right now, but I don't like the fact that the dollar did gap up. The only way the dollar gapped up is, because obviously the currencies do correlate. It could be because of the weaker yen increasing the price of the dollar, right? Investors is moving away from the yen currency. They're selling the yen, buying other currencies. So that's a good option too. I like it from a fundamental perspective, but at open, like the gap for the dollar, it's not really clicking yet. Like I don't really like I really can't, I don't like the idea of buying dollar now. You know what I'm saying? But I still like the idea from like a scalp intraday perspective, because I do expect Fed speakers to still remain hawkish. No, I focus on fundamentals, but my technicals, yeah, technicals are the same though. 160 on UJ, that's crazy. Like I don't think it's gonna happen today, brother. But it's a possibility. All right, Natalie, you're welcome. All right, guys, have a good one.
Recording